And I've seen this happen before with school districts. I've seen this happen before with city councils. Have you called in the state to come mediate?
Did I call in the state?
Have you called up? Have you reached out to the state to come in and mediate what's going on here? So I've seen school boards where you have lots of drama, and Texas Education Agency, comes in and deals with that. If you're having these issues there, have you reached out to state lawmakers? Have you reached out to state representatives?
Direct situation going on in a small village outside of Chicago, thanks to this mayor, Tiffany Henyard. And with George Santos leaving the House, this is the new funniest, most corrupt politician in the United States of America. I learned about Tiffany today when I read an article about the ordinance she's putting in that states if she loses her re-election to be mayor, the mayor's salary will be decreased from $225,000 to $25,000. But if she wins, it will stay the same. When I read that, I realized I had to learn everything about this woman. And as it turns out, the 90% pay cut doesn't even crack the top 10 of the most corrupt things that this woman has done in a short year that she's been the mayor of Dalton, Illinois. If you're on a highway near Dalton, Illinois, you will see
into her privately owned cancer awareness charity, which you cannot do. In one of those investigations that the chief of police was investigating, it stated here in this tweet, and shout out to this person for tweeting this, they said Mayor Tiffany Henyard is one of the most corrupt ever. She actually hired a child offender, overpays her police officers. She does. She overpays her police officers to be her security, which what do you need that much security for? You're a mayor of a town with about 20,000 people. One of the officers was paid $13,000 in 2 weeks for 300 hours of overtime, because nobody believes that. Nobody believes that.
The mayor rarely talks to reporters, and she let the defense attorney she's retained do most of the talking with WGN News. He says Freeman put Henyard's safety at risk by removing her security detail.
Under the law, he's out when she says he's out.
How is he putting you at risk?
He didn't answer that.
Is it that there's speculation that prosecutors are putting pressure on him to cooperate with their investigation into you?
No, we're talking about the removal of security detail.
This isn't the first time Henyard's safety has taken center stage.
Why we can't put our hands together and help? Why we can't band together at this time, at this moment? This is what we got your state, right? Y'all all say we're the key. He had a dream. But guess what? I am the dream. So now I need you guys to stand with me.
As the supervisor, there will be no comments, there will be anything, it will be me addressing you guys to tell you what's going on in Thornton Township.
Why don't we address you?
Henyard called Wednesday's special meeting, she said, in response to a series of ordinances the village's board passed last week to manage event spending. In video of the August 20th meeting provided to ABC7 by the Lansing Journal.
Attack. We getting scrutinized in the meeting. For what? Loving on the people? Showing them that they matter to us? We going through the fires for y'all. Y'all should be ashamed of y'allself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves.
Motion to terminate Keith Freeman.
Henyard announced his termination last night.
And we're just going into her quote here because, again, maybe some of her trustees are finally starting to fall off bit by bit. It's just taking a little bit longer than expected, which is crazy. Today, I'm breaking my silence and speaking out against Thornton Township Supervisor and Mayor of Dalton, Tiffany Henyard, who I believe has engaged in unethical and predatory behavior throughout her tenure. Man, I gotta use this. Wow. Okay, and this is Carmen Carlisle, okay, who wrote this emailed statement to this?
Defunding the police isn't the answer. What do you plan to do with your resources? Is it less money or more money to police departments?
Well, it's more money towards the areas of needs, right? And as I mentioned before, we're working to double the amount of young people that we hire, not just for summer jobs, but for year-round positions.
I got some advice. If you can, move out of Chicago right now.
Controversial mayor in all of America. So this mayor named Tiffany Henyard is the mayor of a place called Dalton, Illinois. And essentially every single resident in Dalton wants Tiffany out of office. This is mainly because Tiffany's very controversial use of taxpayer money. For starters, Tiffany has a full security detail that goes everywhere with her in the town. This security detail is estimated to be about $250K a year. In addition to security, Tiffany also uses taxpayer funds to do things like buying billboards with her face and name on it. She also puts her name all over government vehicles and buildings throughout the town. And she even has her own 2024 calendar. And of course, she put her own birthday.
Her own people's, from her own town's bank accounts, okay? And it's wild, right? Millions of dollars. What I find really interesting about this situation is that it seems like the rest of the world who's been following this is following it because they all understood the assignment. They all understood what was going on. Now, it seems like one other board of trustees, okay, finally got the memo. Yeah, I think she finally
push anybody that has that. If someone uses my name to push their charity, or if you say this is Tiffany t-shirt, people gonna buy it. Because right now, consider what? Clickbait. People make money off of my name by views. So you just take my name.
You said you don't have a foundation.
I do not. And that's why I tell everybody, go do your research. I'm not on anything.
So when we see all of this back and forth, when we see this going back and forth, have you
no, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
When Henyard hits the road, she and other village and township officials
accused of using taxpayer money to fund her lavish lifestyle. Then when the city council unanimously voted for an investigation, she vetoed it. Then last month, a member of her staff accused her of covering up an essay that happened on one of their business trips. Then this week, after a city council meeting showed overwhelmingly that the people want her to step down and resign, the board of trustees has appointed the former Chicago mayor, Lori Lightfoot, to lead the investigation into the essay. If you're not from the Chicago area, you may have no idea who she is and ask, why is this a big deal? Because Lori Lightfoot was an awful mayor, corrupt mayor. She lied about everything.
Currently in financial difficulties, the village of Dalton owes more than $5 million. There are growing concerns about Mayor Tiffany Henyard's purported misappropriation of funds. One observer said, "I've never seen any municipality with so many credit cards being used for personal expenses. The amount of restaurant orders is also astounding." Some have speculated that Henyard's silence indicates that there may be more to hide. "We are not brainwashed. We are fed up," one irate supervisor said. It's evident that Tiffany Henyard, who was once a feared figure in Dalton, is under increasing pressure. Her inner circle, which had been devoted to her, is disintegrating as a former assistant has come forward, exposing Henyard's long-standing pattern of misconduct and dubious behavior. Financially, the tide is turned against her, and even though she tries to act casual, it's clear that panic is setting in, people are deserting her, and the drama surrounding her is getting worse very quickly. Keep checking back because, in an unexpected change of events, we've discovered some startling information on Henyard's Irving's leadership. Tiffany Henyard, the self-styled super mayor of Dalton, suffered a serious blow at the hands of an unexpected source, one of her own purported followers. Carmen Carlisle, a trustee for the Thornton Township Board who many thought was in Henry's corner, has changed sides. The 41-year-old mayor is already the subject of fraud charges and growing criticism due to her extravagant spending habits. Carlisle has openly accused the mayor of acting unethically in order to increase her authority. Apparently, this time around, her super mayor status won't be enough to save her. Today, trustee Carmen Carlisle announced to the public that she could no longer remain silent regarding Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton and supervisor of Thoron Township. I think that over the course of her 2 years in office, Henyard has engaged in unethical and predatory behavior. She has manipulated residents, vendors, and staff to gain more power while presenting a false picture of success that is paid for by diligent taxpayers in the villages of Dalton and Thorndon Township. Carlisle admitted that she had remained silent about Henyard's lavish trips and extravagant spending at recent board meetings because she trusted the administration, but that trust has since evaporated. I am speaking out not just for myself, but for others who have been affected by Henyard's leadership. I believe there are many more victims, people who have been retaliated against, fired, or deceived by Henyard, but who have yet to come forward. Though Carlisle's decision to break her silence took time, it's not hard to see why she hesitated. After all, Henyard seemingly had the law on her side, using credit cards freely and even allegedly employing a personal security force to intimidate potential whistleblowers. Given such backing, it's understandable that people were hesitant to speak out. However, Henyard wasn't going to let Carlisle's betrayal slide. True to form, the mayor fired back, coining a new nickname for her former ally and deflecting blame onto others. I think I'm going to call you Lying Carell. I'm tired of everyone in here. It's always a show, as at the end of the day, you were part of this board, right? So why didn't you bring this up before? Where had this energy been a year or even months ago? Her remarks seemed to imply that there was, in fact, something wrong with her administration. Her displeasure was evident, and her customarily silent stance on the matter, in which she has declined to comment without legal representation, seemed to be breaking. The reason I didn't ask questions earlier was because I trusted the administration in the process. But once that trust was broken, I started asking questions as your assistant. I saw and heard a lot, and the first time I really questioned my support for you was when you went on a national platform and claimed you knew. Henyard tried to shift the blame to Carlisle, accusing her of neglecting her duties, as trustee Carlisle was quick to respond. Nothing about a foundation. You disregard the fact that I was present in those rooms throughout the important choices that were made. And you lied to me about that foundation. You even paid me an unexpected visit later on in an attempt to persuade me that someone else had founded it. Henyard Shady's financial activities came to light as a result of Carlisle's revelations, but she wasn't the only one who had had enough. Since the day of Henyard's tumultuous leadership, trustee Chris Gonzalez has been pressuring the company for months, requesting to examine financial data after his numerous courteous requests went unanswered. Gonzalez demanded a special meeting on August 15th in order to confront Henyard personally regarding her excessive spending. This was no regular meeting, rather it was more like to an intervention. The agenda was filled with all of Heard's worst nightmares, from approving questionable payments to putting pressure on long overdue invoices to fulfill deadlines. But the real kicker was that 6 additional laws, including ones that restricted travel and reduced salaries, were scheduled to be introduced in an effort to strengthen oversight over the mayor's powers. Tighter budgetary restrictions, credit card usage caps, and a ban on using township resources for personal promotion made it evident that Gonzalez and Carlisle weren't just attempting to slow down Henyard's reign. Rather, they were planning to completely end it. Ironically, Henyard's ascent to power was facilitated by an 11th-hour nomination from none other than Chris Gonzalez. She was sworn in and voted in minutes before the midnight deadline, but many in the audience believed the nomination was arbitrary. Later, it was discovered that Henyard had applied for the position well in advance. This revealed a source close to the situation, which is how she became mayor. For many in the audience, this seemed like a missed indication that Henyard's leadership might not have been the best fit. Gonzalez ultimately wanted the choice to be made by township voters since time was of the essence. The board was sharply divided, and the deadline was approaching. Gonzalez nominated Henyard in a last-ditch attempt to force unity within the board. When asked how she felt about her sudden promotion, Henyard responded with characteristic enthusiasm, "Oh, I'm overjoyed. I didn't see it coming. I love it. That means I'm truly blessed, and everyone loves me. I love them. Thank you." However, some fans speculated that the Board of Trustees had their own agenda, not wanting the decision to be left in the hands of the public. the rushed nomination and appointment of Henyard ultimately led to widespread dissatisfaction among Dalton residents, with villagers expressing outrage over the ongoing chaos. One resident lamented, "It's heartbreaking our senior citizens can't afford basic necessities because of Tiffany's corruption." Another resident voiced their frustration, saying, "I knew something was off from the start. Tiffany needs to be held accountable. She shouldn't be allowed to spend our tax dollars like this is her personal cash register." Even if both Gonzalez and Carroll have their own motivations, it seems clear that Henyard's time and power is running out. Desperate to hold on to her privileges in an attempt to consolidate power, Henyard attempted to rush past a critical agenda item. The situation surrounding Tiffany Henyard and the finance department has reached a critical point, marked by tension and intrigue. Recently, backup invoices surfaced that could potentially unveil the extent of Henyard's questionable spending practices, which she had been trying to conceal. This revelation came on the heels of Henyard's abrupt decision to fire her former aide, Keith Freeman, back in July, shortly after he brought to light some of her dubious activities. Freeman's dismissal raised eyebrows, especially since it appeared to be a strategic move to silence dissent within her inner circle. In his place, Henyard appointed Keith Price, a loyal ally, but this decision was made unilaterally and without the necessary board approval. This prompted significant pushback, as many on the board were concerned about the lack of transparency in governance. Henyard attempted to defend her actions by arguing that Price's appointment did not require board consent, while simultaneously claiming that he had received prior approval. This contradictory stance only fueled further skepticism regarding her leadership. As the board convened, Henyard sought to push her agenda through by calling for a vote on the controversial invoices, hoping to gain the necessary support to legitimize her actions. However, the atmosphere had shifted significantly, with trustee Jerry Jones observing that the tide was turning against Henyard. In this critical moment, board member Chris Gonzalez prepared to counter Henyard's maneuvers, asserting that Price did not possess the authority to handle sensitive financial documents without explicit consent from the board. This assertion underscored the growing rift between Henyard and the board, as trust eroded in the face of her increasingly questionable decisions. Ultimately, the proposal to investigate the backup invoices was put to a vote, signaling a pivotal moment in the board's dynamics. The proposal was approved, with only Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle dissenting, marking a significant decline in Tiffany Henyard's influence and signaling a turning point in the ongoing struggle for control and transparency within the organization. This chain of events not only reflects the internal conflicts within the leadership, but also raises larger questions about accountability and governance in the face of emerging financial irregularities. The fallout from this situation will likely resonate for some time, as board members and stakeholders seek to restore trust and ensure that such practices do not continue unchecked. Henyard's attempts to manipulate the narrative and maintain her grip on power seem increasingly tenuous, especially as the board grows more united in its commitment to oversight and accountability. As the investigation into the invoices unfolds, it will be crucial to monitor how this situation develops, particularly regarding Henyard's future role and the potential ramifications for the organization. The stark contrast between her previous authority and her current precarious position serves as a reminder of the importance of transparency and ethical leadership in maintaining the integrity of any institution. The battle over these invoices is not merely a fight for financial clarity. It represents a broader struggle for the soul of the organization, one that may redefine its leadership and operational standards in the wake of these revelations. With board members increasingly wary of Henyard's decision-making and her ability to lead effectively, the stakes have never been higher. The question remains whether she can regain the confidence of the board and the community, or if her legacy will be forever marred by these controversies. As this saga continues to unfold, all eyes will be on the board's next steps and the potential for a new direction that prioritizes accountability and ethical governance over personal loyalties and unchecked power.